Rocking in the metro, and I'll tell you, I've seen video from the storms coming through Paynesville. It is going to be a rambunctious storm over the next hour. I've got the details and helping you stay sky aware right after the break. We are about to get rocked. All a part of the severe thunderstorm watch that's in place until 1 a.m. Here's a quick way to bring you up to date. Of course, I'll be back here at 9:30 with your full forecast and a continued look at these strong storms. I can't emphasize this enough, and I say it every time, Randy and Kelsey, it is time to put your personal storm plan into effect. And by the way, let's all stay sky aware tonight, especially Twin Cities Metro here in the next 30 minutes.
We're going to turn around some of that video you just referenced to as well, Ian, so stick with us.
Yeah.
A fish dropped by a bald
Damage in Ham Lake. I'm getting pictures of tree damage in the Northwest Metro. It's going to be a rockin' time here the next half hour to 45 minutes.
We're going to turn that stuff around also, St. Cloud too.
Yeah, well, Fox 9 photographer capturing in St. Paul tonight in the Como neighborhood, dozens of XL Energy trucks in a parking lot, staging there, getting ready for any power outages that they would have to respond to in advance of this, because watching this system move.
We had a bunch last night, in fact.
Out west into our area.
There were 80,000 people in the metro without power. Fully leaf trees. Winds at 60+ miles per hour. They're like sails, and their roots are trying to hold on to a bunch of muck and mush because we've had so much rain in such a short period of time. And by the way, we're not finished with the rain. We're going to talk about some very heavy rain here in the next couple of hours.
This guy had to backtrack last night because there was a tree this big around right across the road that gets me home.
And I'm just hearing about it now.
Well,
you are some kind of... Randy's what we call a delayed storm chaser.
I didn't send in a picture because it was late at night, as you probably know, and I was like, how am I going to get home?
Right.
It's always about him. Notice that?
But
instead of sharing with everyone else, it's all about him.
But it's good to see the power trucks ready to go.
Yeah, it is going to be that kind of night.
They need to start moving.
Here's the last 6 hours on storm vision. Now, the severe thunderstorm watch popped earlier. It is in place until 1 in the morning. Look, that severe thunderstorm watch has already been extended off to the south and off to the southeast. Now getting reports at the Glencoe Airport in McLeod County of thunderstorm wind gusts at just about 60 miles per hour. And that's what we've been seeing all as these storms kind of amped up here in the last 15 to 20 minutes. So there's the last 6 hours, this line of storms collapsing, converging, if you will, across the greater Twin Cities metro. Let's talk about how things set up for you. You've got a line of storms coming in out of the west, and you've got this line of storms that was north of the metro and kind of went, no, I think I want to visit the metro too. There's the pincer effect right over top of the Twin Cities. A storm setup similar to tonight, although for this evening, we have much greater storm potential. In other words, there are better ingredients in place. And earlier I was using the analogy that you go to the store, you buy all the ingredients for the best cake ever. If I were to put that cake together, it wouldn't be the best cake ever. So sometimes the best ingredients don't always line up to the best cake. Well, in this particular instance, we have all the ingredients, and this is a rambunctious cake. I don't even know if that makes sense there. I've taken away all the radar so you get the idea. Severe thunderstorm warning here, west, southwest of the metro. Carver, Hennepin, McLeod, and Wright counties, that is in place fully for the next 25 minutes until 10 p.m. The special weather statement here right over top of the Twin Cities metro, that is in place also until 10 p.m. So you've got the line of storms here that's collapsing down out of the north with winds at 60+ miles per hour. And the line of storms here collapsing in out of the west-southwest with winds at 60+ miles per hour. That's the pincer effect that I was talking about here right over top of the metro. I want to give you an idea here. I'm going to take away all of the radar and give you what we call Doppler velocity, and I've used this analogy for years. Doppler is quite simply the change in the pitch as objects move toward and away from you, or in this case, the Doppler. So think about standing on the highway and a car goes whizzing by, and it goes meow. It's the pitch changes. And that's the Doppler effect that we can impart in radar. So the hydrometeors, that's the rain and the hail that's suspended in the atmosphere, the Doppler beam interprets whether they're moving away or toward the Doppler unit. And in this particular case, everything here is collapsing in out of the north. The strongest winds are right here where we find the white and the bright green. That's that line I said that was coming in out of the north. Those will be winds at 60+ miles per hour. This is the kind of thing where your garbage can is down the street and your lawn furniture is suddenly the property of your neighbors next door, or at least temporarily. Very strong winds. I would urge you to take this storm seriously, especially as it rolls across the metro. There's the line with the strongest winds pushing in. Now, I'll add lightning tracker because earlier we were showing you the camera from Maple Grove looking off to the northwest, and lightning was just flashing. This is similar to tonight. I'd imagine is what it's like, you know, being in front of the paparazzi. As all of the lightning flashes come in with the thick lowering of the clouds, and we saw that on the Maple Grove camera about 10 minutes ago. Randy was alluding to that. So the special special weather statement here includes the Twin Cities Metro, the severe thunderstorm warning just off to the west. I want to take you down one more time. Kelsey, what are you doing?
Oh, sorry.
We're talking about
Randy
the
had a
storm.
question about the map. So yeah, we're good.
We're just talking about the storm.
I'm right here. Give me them.
We're looking at all the places.
I was trying to figure out exactly, and you displayed it very well, but exactly where that strong wind line is in terms of our suburbs right now. Is it Plymouth? Is it Brooklyn Center,
it's just
Brooklyn Park?
Plymouth approaching the Twin Cities downtown of Minneapolis. Now, these storms are moving forward at around 35 to 40 miles per hour. So because this is such a big wind event all along this line, that gives you an idea of approximate locations. And I think that's what you're asking there.
Yeah.
So Twin Cities, now that means downtown Minneapolis all the way to the airport. It's a broad area, I'll give you that. But that is right now the strongest portion of the storm. And now you think about the south and the southwest metro. This is just the line coming in out of the north. I'm not including the line collapsing in out of the west. That's into Valley Fair here in the next 15 to 20 minutes. So there's still some incredible things going on. You know, last night I used that cake analogy because I wanted to tell people how strong these storms were and what they looked like as we took a slice through. This is what we call a range height indicator, a 3D slice, if you will. So let me move you a little bit closer here to the metro. And all of these lines are elevational lines. So you get the idea, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50,000 feet. Most of these storms topping out between 40 and 50,000 feet. And once I move this slice around, you're not going to find much of a core for hail like we had with the storms last night. But as we move, as I move you around here and give you yet another slice through this storm, you'll get the idea. You see, these are all storms topping out between 20 and 40,000 feet. There isn't one big peak anywhere in here that I would say, wow, look at the hail. Instead, this is a strong line of storms that's advancing here to the south and to the southeast across the Twin Cities. That's the special weather statement. And you've almost got two special weather statements laid on top of each other. Randy, again, what you were talking about, find the brightest white here on Doppler velocity. And you get this curvature. Now, these winds are headed here, all off to the south and to the southeast. Downtown Minneapolis, I guarantee this storm is rocking for you right now. And if our folks in TOC are master control, yeah, there you go, pop up, that's downtown Minneapolis. And I believe this is our IDS camera.
So Ian, quick question. When those two wind fronts, those two different wind fronts you were talking about converge, what happens there?
Well, the larger one's going to take over. It's a great question. You know, we talk about two storms and it's like having bullies on the schoolyard. And the big bully, that's going to win. And right now the big bully is that line converging down out of the north. There's the Doppler velocity to give you an idea. So, I mean, all good questions. And you guys were just talking there like kids in the back of the class, like whispering. And I had to say, hey,
pinpointing some locations as we were watching where it was at that moment.
Yeah, for sure. Now, and there's a reason that XL Energy was staging all those trucks. Winds at 60 plus miles per hour, strong storms rolling through. Plenty of rain last night. Most of the region anywhere between 1 and 2 inches of rain. All of these big trees, and people think big tree, man, it must be supported by these amazing root structures. But all of those root structures are basically hanging on into muck, into mush. And we've seen this countless times over the years, Randy and Kelsey. And as I say that, it looks like we have a new severe thunderstorm warning that is right here over top of the entire Twin Cities metro. And it's interesting to note, if you look at how this new severe thunderstorm warning is shaped, it is shaped in the form of the winds that are moving here down to the south and to the southeast. That's precisely what I've been talking about. Areas off to the west, you head out toward Meeker, McLeod counties and Candy, Ojai and Stearns County. By the way, you are all in the clear. This severe thunderstorm warning for Carver, Hennepin, McLeod and Wright that's off to the west is still in play. It is still winds coming here. Now, there's a mesosignature, mesocyclone. That means there's a degree of spin detected in the storm. It doesn't mean anything about tornadoes. But if there's spin, if it was daylight, you'd walk out and you'd just see this storm. It'd be this massive, you know, it'd be like Randy's alien spaceship that is going to come pick you up one day. I don't know when. But it would be slowly rotating, and it would be an awe-inspiring thing. That's what's happening with this severe thunderstorm warning. On the other side of the coin, Here out of the north, it is that line of storms. So all along that line, we'd be looking for wind gusts at 50, 60 plus miles per hour, damaging winds taking down some rather large trees. I can tell you that because you look at the shape of the southern end of this warning as this line right here continues to advance from the north down to the south and to the southeast. Look, if you're in the South Metro, the storm hasn't reached you yet. So we're talking about Chaska and Eden Prairie. By the way, it is knocking on Chanhassen's door right now. Over to Egan and down toward Lakeville, up toward Sunfish Lake and MSP Airport, over toward Woodbury, down toward Afton. It's not there yet. Just know that it's about to arrive in your location, and it will be very strong winds and the possibility of damaging winds with blinding rain. And I always take this opportunity to say, you know what? I know you want to go outside and you're like, guys, take a picture of my. So have you ever taken a picture of the full moon with your cell phone? And you're like, wow, that's a terrible picture.
Yeah.
It's kind of the picture you're going to get for us tonight. Don't go outside and start snapping pictures. They're not going to be very good. We've got people to do that for us. One more time, Tom, I think it's Tom who's in the director's chair tonight. If we could go to the IDS. Okay, so there's downtown Minneapolis. That's the Wells Fargo Tower. This is from the top of the IDS tower. You want to talk about a replay of last night?
Mm-hmm. Right.
It's like we put last night in a photocopier and went, hey, here you go. You want to do that one more time? And boom. We're doing it one more time. This will give you a really good idea. So this is IDS Tower, and you're looking off to about the north right now with the Wells Fargo Tower. See these low-level clouds and the wind, and it's just rocking with the lightning in the background. Gives you a real good idea. There's some good ground-level winds, strong ground-level winds rolling through. Go ahead, Randy.
Are those cool temperatures you said we're going to follow this storm, are those showing up further to our west now after that storm passed, or
not yet? So we're going to stay very warm and muggy tonight. The coldest air is hugging the Canadian border right now. Temperatures in the low 60s, and that is going to roll down. And it is, in a way, you've got this very strong storm complex coming in out of the west. You got this cooler, but more importantly, drier air, much lesser dew points converging into this hot, humid air mass. And again, it's kind of like the two bullies are fighting. The bigger bully, there it is. They're using up the heat, the ingredients, the upward vertical velocity of this storm. This is a really strong storm that here is collapsing through the Twin Cities metro with that severe thunderstorm warning in place until 10 p.m. Now, again, with the 3D slice, if I take you through this storm, important to note that here we go, and I'll take you through it one more time because I always think it's important to say, here's the storm, here's how powerful it is, and here's how much more powerful it can be over the next 20 to 30 minutes. And I'm going to take a slice here just north of downtown Minneapolis, north of St. Paul. You get the idea. This is all cooking up between 30 and 40,000 feet. But like I mentioned earlier, you're not going to find any way, so I can take you through the entire storm. Come down into the South Metro, there's not much going. You head back into the North Metro, that's where we have the much higher heights. The storm is definitely stronger here. Downtown Minneapolis, here across the North Metro from Maple Grove into Plymouth, all the way into Brooklyn Center, through Blaine, and then up toward areas like White Bear Lake. South Metro, it's just not there yet, but it is coming. You got what for me, Tom? Yeah, let's see it. White Bear Lake camera. And this is just one of those nights where you have some of the best in the business sitting on the other side of this wall, right on the other side. So Tom Cousins, our technical director tonight, there's White Bear Lake. We talked about Lake Coronis near Paynesville with the boats being flipped. Look at the rain and the wind across the water.
It's like a shot of the coast of Maine tonight,
Yeah, it's not a night to go out on the water, lads.
And this is such a strong system. Once it passes the metro, does it maintain that strength?
It does, and it's a great question, Kel. So this entire line, so we actually had two lines. We had the line coming in here out of the west, and like I said, that other line was passing to the north, and it kind of said, nah, I think I'm going to visit the metro. So you had that pincer effect. Now, overall, I would expect this line here to become the dominant factor and continue to race across to the south end of the southeast. So areas along the Mississippi River Valley. And I don't want to forget our friends here on the eastern side of the St. Croix. So you talk about Pepin, Pierce, Buffalo, Durand counties. Here on the east side of the St. Croix, stretching down onto the east side of the Mississippi, and then down I-35. I'll move the map for you to give you an idea where I'm thinking these are going to go. So you start looking at this line. It's starting to build back toward parts of Sibley County, blossoming here. No warnings in Sibley County, but then you look toward Mankato. There's the line, and as that line continues to roll here off to the southeast, it takes this severe thunderstorm warning that is the entire Twin Cities metro and areas off to the south, and it will continue to march. So let's give you some ideas here. Baldwin, all the way over to Chanhassen, and then pick up, say, Jordan, all the way over to Northfield, and then probably Lake City or Hastings. Those are the next sets of lines as this storm continues to advance off to the south. With that severe thunderstorm warning in the metro, last night we had windfall reports at Holman Field of 66 miles per hour. Well, I said it's a photocopy of last night. In the last 10 minutes at Holman Field, we just had wind gusts at 63 miles per hour. So that's downtown St. Paul. It is just across the Mississippi from Lowertown, from CHS Field. So this storm is rocking from downtown Minneapolis, downtown St. Paul. And if we take you in a step, you start to think about people going, well, wait a minute, you're talking about all these other places. What about my place? This will give you a better idea. So notice how the rainfall has made it all the way through downtown St. Paul. We just showed you White Bear Lake. White Bear Lake is rocking. Downtown Minneapolis is rocking. This is a hail core, giving you an idea here in 10, 20, and 30 minutes north of downtown Minneapolis, advancing, and I feel like I'm caught in a time warp. Last night we were talking about downtown Minneapolis, Falcon Heights, the Lauderdale neighborhood, working into St. Paul. It's the exact same track here from downtown Minneapolis across Falcon Heights into Lauderdale and eventually into downtown St. Paul. Bloomington, Inver Grove Heights, you are not in these storms right now. Reports thunderstorm wind damage in Mayer in Carver County with large-scale trees being snapped at the base. That's in the last 10 minutes. Also reports in McLeod County of a tree down on a house. Delwood in Ramsey County reports of 2 trees down on the north side of White Bear Lake. Remember what we were talking about earlier? Big leaf trees, 50, 60, 70 mile per hour winds. The trees are like sails. They're going to take all of this wind and then some, and they're going down. And it is going to be that kind of a night. I think it's amazing that we had the video of XL Energy stacking those trucks and just kind of going, aha, we see you, Mother Nature, and we know what you're trying to do, because last night we had almost 80,000 people without power in the Twin Cities. And I think XL's like, not on our watch tonight. And you hope that happens. But there's no repairs going on right now because this massive storm is just rolling across the metro. I want to move out here and give you an idea. People always say, how do you do that on the computer screen? I'm like, a lot of practice. A lot of practice.
Well, there's magic too. I mean, let's be honest.
Well, it's your aliens. They landed with the spaceship, and it's fine. They helped me out. I want to give you an idea here as we scope this storm. So earlier when I was talking about the brightest green, almost turning white, and it was coming through downtown St. Paul and downtown Minneapolis. Now you get the idea. You're looking at it, and you're like, what happened? That bright green, that bright white is just kind of washed out. And by the way, I know this looks like a front load washer.
It does.
Yeah, and I do know how to operate one of those.
We feel like we're going to see suds here in a minute.
Randy's shaking his head. There's White Bear Lake, still a rocking storm. And this is after the majority of the storm has already passed. So the big wind is out of White Bear Lake. Now it is the lightning, the thunder, and very heavy rain. Remember I said that earlier? We could see upwards of 2 inches of rain leading to flash floods. Go ahead, Randy.
That was my question. What kind of rain amounts are we looking at here?
We're looking at 1 to 2+ inches, very short period of time. We talk about something in weather called urban flooding. So, that's like your cul-de-sac or the street that leads out of your neighborhood. Or last night in the Lauderdale neighborhood, it was Broadway Street at 280. So about 2 miles south of about 2 miles southwest of Falcon Heights. And those are sporadic at best, but I would always tell you this. If you've got the usual suspects that always tend to flood. It is going to be one of those nights. I'm going to move the map for you here so you get the idea. 2 severe thunderstorm warnings, one here to the west flashing in gold and black. That's Carver, Hennepin, McLeod, and Wright. Portions of all of those counties. And then the greater Twin Cities metro with the storm now reaching 494 along the south. And for the old timers, Randy,
careful.
And everyone else out there, including me, you look at 494, 694 being the loop. And for years and years and years, that was the Twin Cities. Obviously now the urban sprawl has taken over. But here on the south side, it is 494. And 494 is about to be in the storms as they roll off to the south. That's the severe thunderstorm warning now for Dakota, Hennepin, Ramsey, and Washington counties. Interesting, you've got this slice of Washington, this area of Hennepin, but now we're getting out of Ramsey and eventually working south down into Dakota County. Then I was talking about parts of Goodhue County into Rice and Steele counties. This is far from over, especially for the Twin Cities when we look at the thunder, the lightning, and anything that isn't moved, it definitely will be as these winds advance off to the south.
We're lucky that it's this late at night and we don't have as much traffic on the road, but with all the construction zones, like 494, it's hard to drive through some of those with blinding rain. Is it, starts to pond and at night?
Right.
It's so difficult to see. So really worried about anybody that is out on the road right now trying to navigate all that.
I'm curious about that St. Paul camera. I don't know if we can pull that up or not, the beautiful one that shows downtown.
Yeah, so to our folks in the booth, we have that camera that is just south of downtown St. Paul, just on the Mississippi looking back toward St. Paul. I don't have the cameras up in front of me. Usually they're on the monitor over there. But if you can punch one up, you just go ahead and throw it up there, Tommy, and obviously take some time because we're throwing a curveball toward you. There are the 2 severe thunderstorm warnings of note as they come together. The overall flow now is going to be off to the south and to the southeast with these storms. Okay, so there's St. Paul. Think about last night. You know, Kelsey and I and our wonderful husbands and wives were at the Nate Bargatze show on Saturday night. Randy couldn't make it. But last night, they actually postponed the show because we were talking about winds at 66 miles per hour, and it was driving the rain into the big HVACs on the top of the XL Energy Center. And they're kind of like, there's 18,000 people in there, and they're like, oh no, sorry folks, comedy show's over.
Yeah, brought the lights up and everything. So it was just, but the show did go on, and thankfully, they were able to get everything in, but it was, they were stopped for about an hour.
Yeah, then we missed you, Randy.
Yeah.
I'm not sure you did.
We're trying to find another show on the tour for Randy and Cammie to go see.
We are?
Well, I'm working on it.
Oh, you are?
Because
okay.
I just don't feel like it's right that he had to miss it.
Well, there it is, the severe thunderstorm warning for Dakota. And I will say this, it is in Hennepin, Ramsey, and Washington, but now it is about to become Dakota's storm here. As you notice and look at it advancing. Remember I talked about how this whole thing was going to eventually wash off to the south? That's exactly where we're going. There is a new severe thunderstorm warning that has just popped out south of the metro, and it is a very thin box right there. See it? That's Dakota, Le Sueur, Rice, and Scott. That little tiny area flashing right there is the remnants of the severe thunderstorm warning areas off to the south start to pull in. Again, we end up with that pincer effect, and as you get that, you're going to end up with this convergence here that will continue to keep this storm alive. So you've got one area here out of the west-northwest, these winds coming directly out of the north. What you end up with is one great big rotating storm that's blasting out winds at 60+ miles per hour. As we get through the next couple of hours, all of this is going to work down 35 and then eventually bracket itself between 35 and the Mississippi River Valley and spread off to the south and off to the southeast. But here in the metro, we're dealing with it. It is our storm right now. It is soon to be Dakota County's storm. Look at the heavy rain. Now, I'm going to move the scope around here. And remember what I said. This is Doppler velocity. It gives us an idea of what's moving away and toward the Doppler site. There's the Doppler site right here. That's Chanhassen. And Kelsey and I know this because our kids went to Chanhassen High School. So it is right in the shadow of Chanhassen High School, just south of Princess Complex. complex on Highway 5. So as you move around the scope, you begin to see the very bright white green here from New Richmond all the way back to downtown St. Paul. Some very strong winds being realized here from the north down off to the south and to the southeast. And even off to the south, you know, you look down toward Burnsville, we're starting to find at least a little mitigation of the big broad winds. Instead, we're starting to see some of these winds begin to shrink down. What I want to do is take you on a zoom in. I'm going to take you on a trip. So as we go down to the south into the southwest metro, you'll notice here when I begin to scope and I move around, and that's not what I wanted to do. I'm going to clear that. Sorry, my friends. As I begin to scope this storm, and this is the really important thing. When we look into it closer to the Doppler side, it tends to get a little muddled, but that gives you a really good idea where the very strong winds are now. You'll notice the colors are different. And you're saying to yourself, what's going on there, Lenny? You're dealing off the bottom? You're some kind of weather magician? No. So what we talk about with Doppler velocity, when we see the greens and the whites, that's generally the hydrometeors working toward the Doppler site. When we see the reds and these cool pink colors, that's generally working away from the Doppler site. So you're getting the idea here as these winds are starting to spill down. Anybody who's been golfing down toward Jordan and Sand Creek, you know where that is. There's Highway 169 right there. Then you come back over toward Prior Lake. That's the definitive line of some very strong winds that are starting to move into that brand new severe thunderstorm warning. I'll give you an idea what that looks like. There is the brand new severe thunderstorm warning as you see it flashing. And you end up with this definitive line of precipitation. So basically from Twin Cities, MSP, all the way down toward Prior Lake, upper and lower, and then here back over to Sand Creek, and that's 169. There's the Minnesota River Valley. So there's still an awful lot going on just down to the south and to the southwest. But as I said, this now becomes areas to the south. So Dakota County, look at, see this area that doesn't have the rain? Dakota County about to be your storm. And as the storm arrived, the winds to 60, the small hail and the blinding rain. There's that new severe thunderstorm warning. There's the line I was just talking about, with some very strong winds beginning to collapse here just to the other side of 169. That's a severe thunderstorm warning for Dakota, Le Sueur, Rice, and Scott counties.
We're going to reset in about 45 seconds, so keep going, and then I'll tell you, we got to go. We're going to reset for a 10 o'clock newscast.
Where are we going?
We're not going anywhere.
I'm kidding.
We're giving you a
water break.
By
the way, I got to tell you, it's nice to have company tonight.
Yeah, it's good to be here.
We're here for whatever you need, so just shout out, you know, tell us what you need us to do and get for you.
We are all good. I just want people to stay sky aware as these storms with the severe thunderstorm warnings here, including the Twin Cities metro and now areas to the south. I want you to take these seriously. We're not talking tornado warnings. That's not going to happen tonight. We are talking about very strong winds at 60+ miles per hour, blinding rain, thunder and lightning. I think for some folks, this is kind of one of those storms where the kids say, Mom, Dad, what's happening? Or the dog and the cat are in bed with you and they're saying, what's happening? It is one of those nights. That's why I'm here just like last night. I'm your storm guide. We're going to get through this together. Look, the sun is down. It is 10 o'clock, and it is pretty much time for us to start the Fox 9 News at 10 p.m. So to do that, I'm going to get things over to my friend Randy Meyer.
This is Fox 9 News at 10.
Viewing area, in fact, and it is moving right now at a direction from the north, moving southeast across the metro. Many of you who are in the metro right now are experiencing the strong winds and very heavy rains that this storm has to offer. This is just a visual effect of what we've been seeing. There's some other videos that are coming in for us as well. Here's one from a mayor in Carver County. Kristen Oldry sent us this one. That one also shows the heavy rain and the lightning strikes that are prevalent in all of this storm. And here's a look at a video coming to us from Blaine tonight. Lots of rain coming down there as well. And this is pretty much typical of this entire very large system that Ian has been covering now for the last couple hours. We have our storm coverage underway. We have people out there as well. Ian, I'm going to hand it back to you and give us a sense for where the storm is right now.
Yeah, thanks, Randy. You know, the severe thunderstorm warning is still flashing here for the Twin Cities metro. I want to set your minds at ease, though. Areas north of downtown Minneapolis and St. Paul, areas north of that, this is still a booming, rumbling thunderstorm for you. But the severe side of this storm is here, the cutting edge of the moisture and the rain and storms as it tracks off to the south. That is Dakota County. Dakota County, ostensibly this metro-based storm, now becomes yours. Put your personal storm plan into effect. Plenty of reports of wind gusts at 60 to 70 plus miles per hour. As a matter of fact, this little thin area of this severe thunderstorm warning here for parts of Dakota, Le Sueur, Rice, and Scott counties. That's in place until 10:45, and it is a little thin sliver. The latest severe thunderstorm warning for that particular storm talks about the possibility, it is worded specifically like this: winds at 70 miles per hour, considerable damage possible. So what we're talking about here is mainly trees and things that are lying around and fences that easily go down. 70-mile-per-hour wind gusts are nothing to be trifled with. And when you look at this particular portion of the storm, this is the portion here that once you get down to it, you're thinking, well, where is this going next? It is sliding off to the south, but eventually this entire complex is turning and going all the way to the south and to the southeast. So there is the latest, that little thin sliver of severe thunderstorm warning. I'll read it from you. There it is for you. The severe thunderstorm warning, the damage threat is considerable with wind at 70 mile per hour, 1-inch size hail. That is Hennepin, Ramsey, Scott, Washington counties. Reports of wind gusts in Scott County at 61 miles per hour. Reports of wind gusts in Hennepin County and Richfield at 60 miles per hour. In Scott County at Shakopee of 65 miles per hour. At Holman Field in downtown St. Paul of 62 miles per hour. So I think you get the idea here. And I absolutely know, Randy, as much as I know the sun's coming up tomorrow, there are going to be people going, well, that's not that strong. And to which I would say, wait for the light of day tomorrow and wait till you see how many trees are down with this wind-based event. And truly, that's what this is. Now, earlier today, you may have heard the term derecho. And a derecho is a much larger, stronger straight-line wind event than what we're seeing right now. I don't want to discount this at all. With those wind gusts at 60-plus miles per hour across the metro, there will be damage. There will be power outages. I know our folks who are producing the show on the other side of this wall are working on anything from XL Energy because at this hour last night, we were exactly 74,000 people in the metro without power. By the way, our head of production, Aya, her power still isn't back on after it went off with the storms in White Bear Lake last night, and they don't anticipate it being back on until tomorrow. That's before the storms today. Randy, go ahead.
Sure, folks, we do have a jam cam right now, I-94. Take a look at this and I do have a question, Ian, while we look at this.
Yeah.
What is holding this whole thing together? Normally when we have storms like this, it's spotty here and there, and the storm breaks up, and right now it's one big mass. What makes that different than what?
So, you know, a linear-based storm, we're used to seeing, like last night's a perfect example, Randy. You have these big supercell storms, and they don't play well with others. When other storms get close, they'll either absorb them or they'll shun them away. So those are big supercells, and they're like blobs. You've seen them on radar. This particular storm with this linear fashion, it works along a front with deep upper level support that kind of keeps it running. So we need to tap into lifting air and super cooled air at the mid to upper levels of the atmosphere. As long as we keep that running, it would be like having a generator and having an unending supply of gas. That's why that term derecho was thrown around today. With the derecho, it powers itself forward. It has to stay intact for at least 240 miles with sustained winds at 57 miles per hour. It's like one big, massive, linear, rolling severe thunderstorm warning. We're not at that right now, but we're definitely at a linear wind, straight line wind damage event as you look outside at Pryor Avenue 94.
We talked about that wind, Ian, but there is a significant amount of rain. For those viewers that may just be joining us here at 10 o'clock, we're following this storm. Ian's been on it now for the last 2 hours, but it also carries with it a lot of rain.
Yeah, inordinately heavy rain tonight. There will be flooding problems, or at least urban flooding and flash flooding problems. We've already seen that. If you go all the way back to Morris in Stevens County when these storms fired up, it was in a flash flood warning, then it was out. Then it was in a flash flood warning, now it is back. And that is well off to the west, you know, where I call them the four brothers and sisters, Grant, Stevens, Pope, and Douglas County. So Morris in Stevens County, well out in western Minnesota, still with the flash floods. There you see lightning pinging away and the rain on the road. So that's on I-94. I want to bring you back to live radar right now and talk considerably about the severe thunderstorm warning that is out for Blue Earth, Le Sueur, Rice, Steele, and Waseca. So you'll notice there is a new severe thunderstorm warning that is, see the warnings here, Randy? They're starting to stack up further to the south. But they're taking this line, you know, almost like it's like, hey, we're taking off to Iowa, we're going to drive to see our grandparents, heading right down I-35. That latest severe thunderstorm warning is going to be a problem. And I'll tell you why. Because it is feeding itself, if you will, into some very moisture-rich air and unstable air to the south with a severe thunderstorm warning across most of the state of Iowa. And as that continues here, here's the latest severe thunderstorm warning. I'm going to get you down to it. And there it is. So you've got Dakota, Le Sueur, Rice, and Scott County. By the way, I'm getting IFB feedback just to let everybody know. Dakota, Le Sueur, Rice, and Scott counties, there it is. The newest or the latest severe thunderstorm warning is just off to the south. Now that stretches into Mankato area here, Blue Earth County, and then all the way over into Rice and Steele. And the reason I identify that for you is the latest warning says, and I'm going to spit out a word here, and I know that immediately that this is the word that people go, wait, what did he say? There is the possibility. Now, when you end up with linear storms, see the line right there, Randy? I want you to think about this, and I've used this many, many times before. A linear storm is like an archer's bow, and you're drawing back that bow, and you release the arrow. So as that arrow comes out of these linear storms, it's basically winds that are rolling along the ground, and they'll roll. You know, when we're kids and we draw pictures, we draw straight lines. Wow, look at the wind on the ground. But really, wind rolls along the ground until it encounters something where we can take that roll and pivot it up. It's a simplistic way to look at this, but those straight line winds will encounter something and will pick up spins all along this line here. So from 169 and the Minnesota River Valley, we're really talking about areas approaching more like Elko New Market and I-35. And as we head through the next 20 to 25 minutes, there is definitely a tornado possibility on the leading edge of this storm as it extends from Mankato back toward Prior Lake, and it is advancing slowly here off to the south and to the southeast. So there's the line right here. See, Mankato to La Center. Now you come from Mankato and you pull all the way back into the South Metro. This area right here, it's like a forest fire, if you will. So here's the fire, and it's pushing into the forest. Well, the forest that's in the metro right now, think about the fire's gone through, the storms, the fire has gone through, there's not a lot of fuel left. Randy, right here, this is still charged up from the heat and the humidity of the day, still has plenty of lift, plenty of instability, the pool right here, and that's why we'll talk about with the latest severe thunderstorm warning, and this is it flashing right here with that severe thunderstorm warning in place. We'll talk about at least the possibility of a quick spin-up tornado all along this line as we move forward in time.
So we're kind of talking, Ian, if we're talking specifically to the folks in that area, anybody who lives between the frontal boundary there and Faribault and Owatonna in that middle section, we're talking about the most at risk for something like that?
Yeah, that's Blue Earth, actually portions of Blue Earth, Le Sueur, Rice, Steele, Waseca counties. That's in place until 1045. So it is this area right here. Then to the north, you've got Dakota, Le Sueur, Rice, and Scott County that you see flashing in black. Not to discount the fact that South Metro is still there. Dakota County, remember I was saying that is your storm? Well, that's riding here out of the main Twin Cities metro area. Now notice, it is well outside the loop. From Lakeville back over to Hastings. Earlier, remember I said that line, Hastings? Watch as I zoom out here, Randy. And this is where storms, you know, I don't care how old you are or how much you've studied storms, whether you're a meteorologist, an armchair meteorologist, a keyboard meteorologist, or just somebody who's been infatuated with weather. As you look at this line of storms that has truly come together perfectly, how about the storm profile? Remember, we had a little tiny cell moving in from the west and that line of ragtag storms that dove down into the metro. I'll stand back so you can see it, Randy. From Mankato all the way past Baldwin. You know, past the marine on the St. Croix up toward Hayward, not reaching Hayward. But this is so impressive. You know, I talk about baking a cake. We had the ingredients. It didn't come together. We had ingredients out of the west, ingredients out of the north. I'll be honest with you, with the new severe thunderstorm warning now that you see flashing here. So when warnings come out, they use geographical reference points. You'll notice this first warning for the metro here, that was working all along the St. Croix. Now we pick up a new warning. It uses the St. Croix and it extends here all the way into parts of western Wisconsin. So suddenly you end up with a severe thunderstorm warning for our friends in Chippewa, Dunn, Pierce, and St. Croix. Why are we talking about all of these warnings stacking up like this? Well, because we're talking about linear-based storms. And as the linear-based storms continue to move, you end up all along this line. Strong outflow boundaries, winds in excess of 60 miles per hour along the line. So Northfield, you're in this zone. Parts of Dakota County, you're in the zone, and just added to this is Chippewa, Dunn, Pierce, and St. Croix counties until 11 p.m. New reports of wind damage coming in here from New Richmond and St. Croix County with trees down in the yard. Savage in Scott County, wind gusts of 62 miles per hour. Belle Plaine in Scott County. Thunderstorm damage, reports of downed trees in backyards. Again, when I was talking about that severe thunderstorm warning, and it mentioned that one word, damage considerable. 70 mile per hour winds, and at least the outside chance of a quick spin-up tornado, it's there all along this line as it advances off to the south. You know, as we move forward in time, and Randy's here with me, and we have an entire crew in the station behind me, I want to set your mind at ease. The news usually ends at around 10:35, 10:34, 10:35, Randy. Our coverage won't end until we get clear of these serious, severe, damaging thunderstorms. Not that anyone cares. I ordered a preemptive pizza around 1 o'clock this afternoon. I'm going to work my way through that. Randy Meyer's eyes lit up right now. He's going to start walking to the Weather Center. Knowing that we'd be here late. I promise you, I will be here late. Randy will be here late. We're not going to leave you hanging as these storms continue to expand with this linear movement here all night long. So let me give you a better line here on how things are beginning to. I'm just going to hang on with it. I'm just going to change remotes.
So while you're doing that, Ian, I'm just going to sort of talk about a little bit. We've seen some of that heavy rain video. We've seen the wind video. Tell me right now, if you had to pick a spot that is based on the radar that is probably the most affected at this moment, it would be where?
Easy choice, right there. That's where we had the severe thunderstorm warning came out that said, now this isn't a Doppler indicated tornado warning. There's a massive difference there. But this is a severe thunderstorm warning where the storm has the propensity, if you will, or at least the ability, if you will, to spin up a quick tornado. And that's exactly where I want to take you, Randy. And that is down here, off to the south and to the southwest of the metro. You know, you see these storms that are popping up all along I-90. All of it is eventually going to feed into parts of northern Iowa. So you head down toward Clear Lake, Iowa. You know, some friends down there, tell them there are some big storms coming your way as we move here through the next 20 to 25 minutes. All a part of this big complex. Randy, you asked me where. I will tell you where. And I'm not going to lie to you. I would never do that to you. It is right here, all along this area. So working into Elko Newmarket, into Northfield, and then stretching all the way back to just off to the east of Mankato. And that's where we'll find the probability here of the strongest winds. Earlier I was talking about Doppler velocity. Wow. Okay. So you know, sometimes, Randy, it's kind of like when you get inside a storm and you start looking around, see that real bright red, pink, and white area right here? Now, how that's starting to interact with some degree of green, it's not a lot. It's not a great interaction here, just in and around Owatonna. If you were to look at this area and try and figure out where the strongest winds are, well, look, before I looked inside the storm, see where I had the line? Just barely missed it. It is right here, approaching I-35. I'll take you in to give you a much better idea. Look, in the metro, greater metro, this storm is still absolutely rocking. But where we find the strongest portion of this storm is off to our south. And it is right there. See it? I'm pinpointing right where my finger is, and that's where I'm going to take you down. Huh?
Just ready to touch Northfield.
Yeah, I mean, you look at Faribault, you look at St. Peter, so that burst right there, that will be the strongest portion of this storm. And as it continues to roll, I'm going to move my scope over for you here. As it continues to move here tonight, it is super important that if you're in Montgomery and places like that, I'm just going to reset something, Randy. Sure. It is really important, your personal storm plan for the possibility of a very strong gust of wind rolling into your region. So stick with me here.
Do we have any cameras? I'm talking to the director now. Do we have any cameras down on 35, down south of the Twin Cities that we can potentially, and this is not a question I expect an answer to, but if you have, pull one up for us while Ian is talking specifically about that. We also have some videos that we're getting in as well, so when you have those, just pop them up and Ian and I will deal with them. All right, this is Waconia. Wow. This was the wind and the rain, the heavy rain that Ian, you mentioned earlier. Bree sent us this. Again, Ian has said this every single time. Keep yourself safe. Don't take this video unless you are staying safe. This one looks like it was taken either through a window or at least in a back porch or something like that. That is the way to do it. We don't want anybody putting themselves in danger. This is a dangerous storm, and so make sure you do stay safe. We do appreciate the video, but stay safe doing it.
Super intense. Randy, the damage reports are really starting to stack up. So St. Croix, Somerset in St. Croix County, reports of several trees down in the village of Somerset, as well as reports of down power lines, exactly what we were talking about. And I might add, exactly the reason that you and I are here right now. Right now,
Ian, XL reports 108,000 people without power right now. I think last night it was closer to 80,000, so we've amped that up. We saw the trucks positioned, ready to roll out tonight, so folks, obviously the idea is to report your power out as best you can, and then the XL trucks will respond as best they can as well. And Ian, again, that wind line right now just to the north.
Yeah, so you look at Montgomery,
or west of Faribault,
Shieldsville, and there's 35. I want to show you something, Randy. I did this last night. This is the Fox 9 weather app. And on the weather app, and when the power is out in your house, you're like, great, we can't watch TV, the Wi-Fi is down. If you still have the ability to use your cell phone, you click on Watch Fox 9 Live. It'll say my name, Ian's tracking live. Obviously, we're on our Wi-Fi in here. It'll pop up, and it will be about a second delayed from everything I'm talking about with you right now. You'll be able to watch it on the Fox 9 weather app. I get nothing. There's no shill going on here. I just think it is so important that when your power is out and you're trying to figure out how you're going to get all of these storm warnings, perhaps hear my voice when you're in your safe spot in your house. By the way, I was talking to kids the other day. I had them here in the station. We were talking about being your own storm guide. So, here, Randy, you can hear yourself on. You can hear yourself.
Turn that off anytime.
Well, no, I want to give folks an idea what this looks like. So, that's it right there. That's me live on TV with you. And all it's using is cellular signal. It is the Fox 9 weather app, and it's the ability to be able to watch us when your power is out. So if you know people whose power out and they're a little scared of the storm, you can call them on their cell phone and say, well, do you know about the Fox 9 weather app? Randy, here's the strongest winds. So we are obviously south of the metro. Here's I-35. I am getting all of these damage reports now. The severe thunderstorm warning for Carver, Dakota, Hennepin, Ramsey, Scott, and Washington is continuing. and that will continue until 10:30. It is 10:21. Thunderstorm wind damage in Somerset. I already talked about that. In Credit River in Scott County. All of these warnings are talking about considerable damage from winds at 70+ miles per hour. You notice where we are right here, and we're looking south of the metro, and you're saying to yourself, it doesn't look like anything I've seen before, Ian. Where's the blobs that are moving around? This Doppler velocity. There is the line of the strongest winds from Northfield across I-35 into Shieldsville, stretching all the way down toward Waterville. So parts of Wadena County stretching into Blue Earth County. Man, this is a massive storm system.
If I may just interject
yeah,
one second here, because I know there are folks that are checking in. I'm looking at your map. I'm looking at where that line is right now. If you're Taylor's Falls, St. Croix Falls, Luck, Bone Lake area, Baldwin,
that's your area.
Half Moon Lake area. That is also on that northern tip of that line where you also would likely be experiencing strong winds, heavy rain, lots of lightning. And if you're watching, you're seeing it on the map right now. It's that area kind of right, it'd be, Ian, show them where that St. Croix, Taylor's Falls, St. Croix.
Right
so
here.
go up to St. Croix, there you go,
Yeah.
right there. And everything, as you pointed out, Ian, to the west of that is getting smoked right now.
Yeah, and I think you're absolutely right. I love it when we can use that kind of vernacular. When you say smoked, we're really talking about winds in excess of 70 miles per hour in the actual severe thunderstorm warnings, and that includes Chippewa, Dunn, Pearson, St. Croix, as Randy was talking about here. That is off to the east of the St. Croix River Valley. And then from the South Metro here, stretching all the way down to Blue Earth, Rice, and Steele counties, and a new severe thunderstorm warning that is kicking up here for parts of Goodhue County. When he talks about getting smoked along this line right here, and notice how well organized. Look, it comes in, it is ragtag, then it suddenly sets up as a very strong storm system, and that system itself will continue to push all the way off to the south and to the southeast. Now, with this storm, the way we have it set right now, I'm going to move everything for you here, Randy. This is a linear-based storm all across the metro. So from Mankato up through Prior Lake. Remember, we just saw Shieldsville, and now that I'm seeing this, you'll give me a second here, Randy, because what we were talking about earlier was the possibility of a quick pop-up tornado. And as I'm saying that, I want you to look here. Remember, we were looking at Doppler technology. We had that bright red in and around Waterville. Well, what we have here is a tornado vortex signature. See the little spinning red devil? That tornado vortex signature gives us an idea. No, that there is not a tornado on the ground, but it does give us an idea that there is verified rotation. So Doppler beam works in 5. It goes and it kicks up. It goes up 5 different degree rotations, and then it resets. So it gets what we call a volumetric scan of the storm, because depending on how close or far away from the Doppler unit the storm is, we have to look for varying angles and degrees, because okay, deep in the weeds, the curvature of the Earth. So the Doppler beam, the further away from the Doppler site, begins to soar. It gets more distance away from the surface. So all of those settings reset, and that's how we end up with verified rotation in the storm. Not verified rotation on the ground, verified rotation in the storm, and right now that is over top of Waterville. So what are we going to talk about here? Here's what I want you to do. If you are anywhere near Waterville or Waseca or Owatonna, I really would like you to put your personal storm plan into effect. All along this line, we'll talk about winds in excess of 70 miles per hour. But if I put, so right here, you've got the Doppler track. I'm going to go over top of the Doppler track, and when you look off to the south and to the southeast, the storm is moving at 35 miles per hour. I know that because that was imparted by the Doppler unit. Into Blooming Grove in the next 13 minutes, into Meridian in the next 24 minutes. There's 10, 20, and 30 minutes. That Doppler vortex signature, and again, this isn't talking about a tornado on the ground, but this is a tornado vortex, a degree of spin in the storm, and that's where it is headed. And Randy, this is what we've been talking about. So Faribault, you're about to pick up the very strong winds, but the tornado vortex signature, the strongest winds in the storm centered right here. And that will continue for some time as we move forward. Go ahead, Randy.
Well, what's Cannon Falls, like just north where your arm is reaching? It's got the same sort of cone.
Yeah, let me move for you.
what is that for the folks at home who may be seeing that as well? I think we're talking about Cannon Falls, north of Faribault there.
Yeah, okay, so right here, this is an entirely different signature. This is what we call a mesocyclone. I mentioned that earlier. If you were to look up at this cloud, it would be a big, turning, twisting storm complex cloud. That's what that is saying. And again, 10, 20, and 30 minutes, the strongest portion of that storm is just to the north and east of Montgomery. These storms are moving, wow, they are clipping between 25 and 35 miles per hour off to the southeast. You saw that little flash there. I'll track it for you one more time here. So there's the center of the storm, and as we move forward by about 35 miles per hour, so we're into Forest in 15 minutes, and Cannon City, Randy, you nailed it. You said it yourself. Cannon City into the next 29 minutes. So again, the strongest portion of the storm, as they all are, advancing off to the south and to the southeast. Now, really important to note that as we identify the strongest portions of this storm, it doesn't mean that that particular area is getting hammered right now. It means that's the core. And that core is dragging this entire line of storms all the way off to the south and to the southeast. I'm going to take you out a step. I sometimes think that although it's so engaging to get down and into these storms, sometimes you want to make sure that we're covering it for everybody. So this complex. So the severe thunderstorm watch, obviously to the west of the metro. Good night. You're fine. All clear. Areas off to the west of the metro, all the way toward the Dakotas. You're all good, free and clear. But right now, you notice the blobs here that are tracking off to the southeast. Bad terminology, but look, severe thunderstorm warning for Chippewa, Dunn, Pearson, St. Croix until 11 p.m. That's 32 minutes from now. So this warning has obviously been extended once. You know, Randy, you were talking about the rainfall possibilities. Mm-hmm. In these type of environments, you end up with these storms that come. This storm raced out of South Dakota and went this entire distance in 4 hours. It has barely moved off the metro since 8:45. So they tend to storm, so they'll race, and they'll be like, time to stop. And boom, they stall right over top of where they are right now. When we were looking at some of the video, and I mean, it was heavy, blowing rain, almost like if it was snow, it would be drifting snow, but that blowing rain. Well, the rainfall rates here are 1 to 2 inches an hour. It hasn't moved. Mm-hmm. So we are going to talk about big winds and some very big rain here off to the east of the metro, south and southwest of the metro. I would imagine we're going to find some flooding potential very, very soon.
We're talking about localized flooding, the stuff that people tend to not drive through because that would be dangerous. Small creeks and rivers will start to rise in some of those areas as that water moves south. Those are the things that we end up reporting on day after.
Yeah, and you know, you think about this, all of this moisture is falling, and it takes some time to gather, and you're like, gather where? Doesn't it go into this? I got a sewer at the end of my street. It goes down the sewer and it's gone. I don't need to worry about it. Well, the sewers are inundated. So the water is not going to drain or go anywhere, so it's going to find the path of least resistance, whether that's into your backyard or further down the street to another sewer. These are all possibilities tonight. I picked up the iPad. I want to talk about some wind damage reports here. South St. Paul, Randy, wind damage, a tree down on Southview Boulevard near Highway 52. Again, with the wind damage and the trees down. Baldwin in St. Croix County, thunderstorm wind gusts of 60 miles per hour. Amateur radio in Columbia Heights in Anoka County reporting tree down across Main Street at 37th. So, I mean, from Columbia Heights with trees down, from Southview, I think that is pretty much the same report.
Those winds have, I mean, since it hit the cities up in, say, the north west corner, those winds picked up a little bit. We started at 50, 55 miles an hour.
Yeah, you're right. We went on the air with a special weather statement for the metro, winds to 50 miles per hour. And then I said, man, this thing is just kind of went amped up super fast in about 15 minutes. All of a sudden, we're talking about winds near 70 miles per hour. Considerable damage is how the severe thunderstorm warnings are reading, and that's exactly what we have going on right now. So look, northwest metro, all clear. So I'll give you an idea. Maple Grove, Plymouth, stretching all the way up to St. Cloud and then all the way back here. Meeker, McLeod County, Candy, Ojai County, up to Grant, Stevens, Pope, Douglas County, all clear, nothing else coming for you. So, you know, if you've been waiting to figure that sort of stuff out, Randy, say night-night to those folks.
Well, I would say night-night, but I'd first say now if you are on the backside of that storm and things are safe and have calmed down and you do have something significant to send video in or pictures in, I would encourage you to do that. We will safely accept those and get them on the air when we can. So if you have the wherewithal, we like to encourage people on the backside of those storms where it's safe. We do the same thing with our people here.
Yeah.
That's when we cover the storm, not in front of it where it's dangerous, but behind it.
I was going to let them go to bed and you're putting
No,
them to
no,
work.
no, it's too. I'm up, they're up.
I love it. Okay, so this is what Randy was talking about there. There's the identifying line of the St. Croix River Valley. So to give you an idea, we are now east of downtown Minneapolis and St. Paul. There's the metro, the 694, 494 loop. We are now east of the St. Croix River Valley. Notice the size of this warning, and I'll tell you, it is as big as it is and involves so many counties because this isn't one little tiny thunderstorm. This is linear thunderstorms. Chippewa, Dunn, Pearson, St. Croix until 11 p.m. Randy, we were talking about the gold boxes. That means there's a degree of spin in this storm all along this line of severe thunderstorms. As we saw, look, I'm just going to track you along the line. So we're coming out of the metro. Now here we are into Goodhue County. Goodhue County, Dakota, and Rice County, severe thunderstorm warning until 11 p.m. I'll stretch you further along this line. Now we have Dakota, LeSueur, Rice, and Scott counties. And then just added here, down into Blue Earth, Rice, and Steele counties, all until 1045. Look, I mean, you could literally take a tour, Randy, and all along this line where you see the moisture, the precipitation band here from Faribault. It's coming toward Owatonna. I'm having trouble with that word tonight. I don't know why. Faribault all the way to Red Wing, here across parts of Goodhue County. Man, you are about to, as Randy so eloquently put it, you're about to get smoked. And
the next few minutes, if we can pull up our Red Wing camera, that'd be awesome too. It may not be showing much yet, but as Ian points out, it will soon. Also, when you're ready to take a 30-second break, I've got some video we can show people.
Yeah, hang on. Go back to, I know this is our Red Wing camera. Come back to me here. I want to take you to radar because I was just talking about how all along that line. So if you're extrapolate here, see I've got a little beat of the line and the line continues all the way here to the south. So that's the line of storms. That's the precipitation line. Embedded in that, notice this bright white just to the west and northwest of Owatonna and basically right on top of Faribault right now. That's Doppler velocity. That bright white, red, pink area, that means we're talking winds probably, inferring here, probably 70 plus miles per hour. So if you're along 35 south toward Faribault into Owatonna, I gotta tell you, and I really want you to hear this from me, your personal storm plan needs to go into effect for these very strong straight line winds to roll across and off to the south and to the southeast of Faribault and soon working through Owatonna. I can't stress that enough, Randy.
Pop up that jam cam if we
can.
Storm.
So, yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, we have Faribault, so there you go. There's the jam cam at Faribault. You can see the heavy rain coming down, Ian. The winds are blowing. You can see some of those lights moving around, the street lights. So that is exactly the area that Ian is referencing there, which is the center of that most focused part of the storm right now.
Look at the rain along the road.
Yeah, it's amazing.
New damage reports coming in, Randy. You had Dinah. Trees down, including some on Valley View Road, South St. Paul, tree down on Southview Boulevard, and Somerset in St. Croix, several trees down in the village of Somerset. The damage reports will continue to string together. And they aren't the only reason we're on there. These are very strong, damaging thunderstorms, widespread. They're not the only reason. There's also that secondary reason, Randy. It's past sunset. It is dark out. Your house is vibrating and you're shaking. Even if the strongest portion of the storm isn't right where you are, well, we are. You and I are here, and we're here. You know, I used the term last night, storm guide. I am honored to be a storm guide and get you through this. So you're sky aware, you know where the strongest portions are of the storm, the kids are in your bed, the dog's in your bed, and you're like, I got to get some usable information. Boom, storm guide, I got you. And we're going to roll through this. So this is Faribault, and man, it is rocking. The wind is pushing the rain. This is where I talked about the possibility into Faribault and soon into Owatonna, the possibility of straight line winds to 70+ miles per hour. So away from the camera in Faribault so I can give you the big picture view back here on radar. And it is absolutely rocking, because I do want to give you the idea that once we're back on radar, you see, look, I mentioned this, I said, Maple Grove, Brooklyn Park, Blaine, and areas, even Lake Minnetonka, all the way here to the west, you are clear, you are free, and that is not going to change. Where it is changing dynamically here over the last 20 to 30 minutes is all along this band of rain. So you notice it's not extending as far off to the south. There are other storms further south that will rock parts of northwestern and central Iowa. These aren't those storms. Earlier I said they're going to feed here along 35 and out toward the Mississippi River Valley. That's exactly what we're seeing. So let's take another storm tour. Severe thunderstorm warning with possible winds upwards of 70 miles per hour for Chippewa, Dunn, Pearson, St. Croix. There you see this line of storms that is advanced pretty much halfway through those sections. Now let's take you down toward Goodhue, Rice, and Dakota counties until 11 p.m. Again, this line of storms working about halfway through that cluster of severe thunderstorm warnings. We've just added a new severe thunderstorm warning here that is Blue Earth, Rice, and Steele counties. And once you begin to stretch down, Randy, this is exactly where I was just talking about the possibility of those very strong straight line winds. It is right here. So this is Dakota, Goodhue, and Rice, Dakota, Le Sueur, Rice, and Scott, and then stretching down into Rice and Steele counties. Notice we're not there with the storms. There's a really decent cluster, or at least a core setting up here as we head toward Owatonna, and that's exactly where we find a tornado vortex signature. Remember I was talking about how that bright red color was sort of telling me, Randy, where we had the ability to create a tornado and some very strong winds? Well, there it is.
Yeah.
So it's right over top of Faribault, and you see this bright white that kind of jags its way down toward Owatonna. Those are some winds at 70 miles per hour. Personal storm plan, Owatonna, everywhere here off to the east of I-35, everywhere off to the south and east of both of those centers. This is all about these strong, damaging winds moving toward your particular area.
We are a heavy farm country down there, Ian, so lots of flat fields, lots of crops up, corn's up now high. Those winds will lay that stuff down.
Faribault just reported a wind gust of 58 miles per hour, and we have reports of wind damage all across that region. That new severe thunderstorm warning for Freeborn, Steele, and Waseca has that same line in the warning that I was talking about earlier. And Randy, by the way, that's right here. It has that same line in the warning about at least the possibility of spinning up a quick, short-lived tornado. And that possibility is very real tonight. What you're looking at here is Doppler velocity. And I mentioned this earlier, how, the pitch changes as cars drive by you on a highway. Meow. Well, that pitch we also use in Doppler technology. It's able to look for rain or hailstones, anything suspended in the atmosphere. We call them hydrometeors. It's able to depict whether that's moving away or toward the Doppler unit. In this particular case, the red to our south is depicting it moving away. Where we find the brightest colors that get to that vibrant pink into that very bright white, that tells us that's where the strongest winds are that are rolling here off to the south and to the southeast. So Faribault, it is almost finished with you. Owatonna, it is right on top of you right now. And I believe that is our Faribault camera.
It is,
Randy?
yes, that is Faribault.
This is one of those times that you're driving down the highway, you're like, holy.
Yeah, I mean, this is the time. I mean, if you had the option where you look for an overpass and get under that thing, it's raining that hard, folks, and the wind is blowing. It's just a nasty situation. And for the most part, it does look like many people have, it is 10:40 at night, so have tucked it in for the night. But it is not fit for man or beast out there in that area. Again, we're talking about 35 straight south out of the Twin Cities. You hit Faribault first, and you eventually make it down to Owatonna, and that is the focus of the most severe part of this storm right now.
New severe thunderstorm warning. So we were talking about Rice and Steele counties right here. The new severe thunderstorm warning, that is the strongest portion of the storm. I will give you that 70-mile-per-hour wind gust hands down. But as that advances, I'm going to clear Doppler technology here for you and Doppler velocity. So as I clear that, you'll see the brand new severe thunderstorm warning, and there it is. So as that severe thunderstorm warning spreads out, it is evidence of the highest degree that the Weather Service, they're seeing the exact same things I am. With that Doppler velocity here advancing toward Owatonna, very strong straight line winds, the possibility of 70-mile-per-hour plus winds all along this line. Red Wing all the way down to Owatonna. So this is the zone of concern. So if you're in Goodhue County, the zone of concern right now is areas around Zumbrota. It's Red Wing and all along here, the Mississippi River Valley. It is down toward Blooming Prairie, coming out of Rice and Steele counties, and then stretching all the way down into the Rochester area, and you end up in Mower County. And suddenly, these storms have now started to pick up. Remember,
I do have a camera, Ian. I have a camera for you out of Owatonna right now. You said it's just about to peak right there, and there it is.
Wow.
There it is.
Okay. If you're in Owatonna, and I said this 3 minutes ago, personal storm plan. You got to get as many walls as you can between yourself and this storm. You got to get away from windows if you have a lower level. That is where I want you. And I want you to stay there. If you don't have a TV anywhere near there, I want you to crank up the volume so you can hear me and you can hear Randy. We're going to talk you through this storm. I use the term storm guide. Let me be your storm guide here if you're in and around Owatonna, because this is a monster. It is raging right across Owatonna and down I-35. I'm telling you, I said winds, double stamp no races, guaranteed at 70 miles per hour. I bet they're higher. In the heart of this storm, just looking anecdotally at this, Randy, I don't think anybody here wants to be there.
No, and that is impossible weather to drive through. So again, you see the taillights off there in the distance. Those folks have stopped, which is good news. Again, we're talking about heavy rain, very, very severe winds in excess of 70 miles an hour. And it's easy to see that when you see the rain blowing across the overpass there. That is exactly what we're talking about. Right now, XL Energy reporting we have 120,000 people without power in the XL Energy region.
How many was it?
120,000
wow.
All across the Twin Cities and to the south there. And you can see why.
Yeah. Okay. So earlier tonight when we came on the air, I always use this expression, fully leave trees are like sails, but evidentially they are, Randy, and we'll talk about plenty of trees down, plenty of power lines dragged down by these fully leaf trees trying to gather what they can with the roots in terms of strength in the muck. And then you catch the winds like this, 70-mile-per-hour winds. By the way, just joining us, this is Faribault. No, sorry, this is Owatonna.
Yep.
This is Owatonna, where we have the severe thunderstorm warning in place right now. And that is, man, that is vivid video and a really amazing reminder of the strength of Mother Nature as we head through tonight. I'll give you a scope on this storm one more time because, you know, Randy and I say, you know, you've got blobs here and people are going, well, I don't know what it means, right? And I totally get that because in essence, we are showing blobs. But all of this is very heavy wind-whipped rain with the possibility from Owatonna all the way to Zumbro and working off to the southeast that you end up with winds at 70 miles per hour, the very heavy rain, the thunder and the lightning, and at times perhaps you're thinking to yourself, my goodness, I don't think it can get much worse. So let me scope a bigger portion of this line for you. So we're out of Faribault. See right here where we pick up the red and those very vibrant pinks. There is something here that I don't like to see, and I'm going to take you down one step further, so stick with me for a second here, Randy. There is something I don't like happening here on radar, and what you see is the red. So this is the wind coming down out of the north. It's moving away from the radar unit. Then you end up with this very bright white area right here. So we're just off to the east of Owatonna, and we're crossing I don't forget what highway that is, but it's from Claremont all the way to Waseca. This is what we call, and Randy, you've heard me say this before, this is what we call gate-to-gate shear. So as a meteorologist, you're trained when you're looking at Doppler to think about a meter by meter squared pillar of air. It's invisible, it doesn't exist. But in that meter by meter pillar of air, if radar can find inbound and outbound velocities of at least 55 knots, we call that gate-to-gate shear. Gate-to-gate shear would trigger a Doppler-indicated tornado warning. Right there, we are so very close to gate-to-gate shear. And I'll take you down even one step further, because I really think this is
Highway 14, Ian, if I'm not mistaken. Oh, yep, there it popped up.
Okay, so that's Highway 14. Once we move it there, I just want to move. I want to move my scope. I can't emphasize enough how important this is right now, and what it really means in the overall picture of this dynamic thunderstorm. I'm going to move the scope over here. So see how bright white it is here? And we end up with this jagged little edge. So as the precipitation is running into this very deep, I hate to use this word, but we call it juicy or juiced up, into this deep, juicy atmosphere here that is still charged with the heat and the humidity of the day. It's been storm free. So no storms have been here. This is the forest that hasn't had the fire yet. And as the fire approaches, you're looking at Doppler velocity. There's a little inflow notch. There's another little inflow notch right here. So the brightest white areas, this will be wind driving down here out of the north and the northwest. There's the wind flowing down. There's the wind flowing down. Then you end up with these little tiny inflow notches, gate-to-gate shear here. This is very deep rotation. I used this analogy last night. Now we've got multiple areas all along here, but you know, our radar scope, you see how it's silver and it kind of shimmers a little. You're welcome. I put the shimmer on there because I think it looks kind of cool, but it looks like the front load washer at my house that I kind of know how to operate. Well, the rotation here is going to be this way. And so it's almost like looking at your washer. It's not, but there you see the inflow notch. There's the outflow, this bright white and pink. See where we find this little green pixel here, Randy? Mm-hmm. So that is flow here out of the north and flow here out of the southeast. That's where we end up with the rotation. That's where we end up again with the rotation. So we're also east of Owatonna, we're east of 35, we're east of Somerset, and we're advancing toward Claremont as we head across Highway 14. And I hope I'm able to impart you how strong this storm is here, crossing Highway 14 and about to move down Highway 218. We do not have a tornado warning here, and I don't think we will. If we did, it would be a Doppler indicated tornado warning. We have no reports of anything on the ground, and you know, every time we end up with severe thunderstorm warnings like this, the county sheriffs and law enforcement in and around the counties, they're sent out to different parts of those counties. And I know it's an awful job because you sit in your car, your cruiser, your truck, and you're like, I got to watch for storms. They're the eyeballs. So when we talk about a tornado vortex signature, we don't know if it's touching the ground. We get the eyeballs on the storm, whether it's from law enforcement or a picture or fire departments. That's how we're able to say, man, there's a tornado on the ground, and it is right here. Nonetheless, that is a very strong storm that continues to move here through parts of Freeborn, Steele, and Waseca counties all the way until 11:15. Go ahead, Rain.
I'm just wondering, I'm talking to the booth again now. I wonder if we can pop up 3 cameras for me. I just want to show the succession of this storm that Ian has been talking about, how it's moving so quickly. We can go start with Red Wing, go to Northfield, and then to Owatonna. And I think our viewers at home will see that there'll be some settling down in those 2 northern cities. Owatonna's probably still rocking some, but I'd like to be able to visually show those 3 if we could.
Okay. Hang on 2 seconds. You know, Keith Marler, he joined us last night. He's in Maple Grove. He's out of the storm. You know, when we're live here, Owatonna has an airport, and we get something called ASOS data, which is a weather unit, if you will. And I said, I guarantee it's blowing 70 miles per hour just from the anecdotal evidence here with Doppler velocity. Keith just sent me a note saying the actual observation at the airport in Owatonna, Randy, bing, 70 miles per hour. So very strong, damaging winds from Owatonna, now stretching across 14 and beginning to work down Highway 218 into Blooming Prairie. And I'm going to tell you, I forgot exactly what you asked me.
Just pull up the cameras. I'm talking to the booth now. Okay. Pull up the camera, starting with Red Wing. And we're going to do this quick. because there's probably not a lot to see in Red Wing now because it's passed by now by about 25 minutes. Same with Northfield, that's passed by. There's Red Wing. You can see not a lot going on there. The lightning has even subsided some, so you're not going to see as much storm activity there. But now let's transition to the Northfield camera. That's the one on the highway there that we showed you earlier that was, up until about 10 minutes ago, going crazy. There's a good shot of some lightning as well. That also will show, as Ian points out, the transition of the storm. There's Northfield right there. It's still raining heavily there. The wind is still coming down, but certainly not to the extent that you would see. Again, that's Highway County Road 19 there that passes through Northfield. Now let's move to Owatonna, and that again is just on the cusp of where that storm is the strongest. We saw those winds just raking across that overpass, the bridge there. They have subsided a little bit. As Ian just said, that is now passed beyond Owatonna. You're still going to have the lightning. You're still going to have winds that are stronger than you think they should be, and you're still going to have a lot of rain, but it is passing through at a much lesser pace than it was just about even 5 minutes ago. And now we've moved on to a portion, as Ian showed us, just to the southeast of Owatonna, where there's the strength of the storm building with that possibility of rotation that he sees on the radar.
And just getting reports now, I just went to, and thank you for giving me the breath, Randy, and that was awesome information. Just checking Twitter. By the way, I love all of you on Twitter, and you're amazing, and your support is wonderful. But reports in downtown Owatonna of the power out, and actual reports on Twitter saying, hey, I'm in Owatonna, my power is out. Well, that's what happens when we talk about 70-mile-per-hour wind gusts. And look how quickly it has come and past Owatonna, now off toward Blooming Prairie, Freeborn, Steele, and Waseca counties, Dakota, Goodhue, and Rice counties. Randy, I want to give you a piece of cake. We haven't done this in a while. I think it's important to talk about how this storm, and you asked me this question earlier, and I think it's a great question. How does a storm like this continue to fire, even though we're well past the heat of the day? I want to take you all across this line. So as we move you down and all the way through, you pick it up here. So here's Owatonna, here's Blooming Prairie. Here's the core of the storm, and notice that core is reaching fully 20 or 30,000 feet. That's the updraft. And involved in this updraft is going to be the strength of the storm. The updraft continues to go higher and higher, finds the supercooled air, the mid-levels of the atmosphere, and that's like gas because you've got warm air rising. Well, think about a hot air balloon. That balloon, as you heat the air, can continue to rise until the heated air inside the balloon is approximately the same temperature as the air outside the balloon. That's equilibrium, and it stops. In this particular case, the warm air keeps rising into the supercooled air, and the equilibrium doesn't happen until you see those massive towering anvil cumulonimbus with the overshooting tops running at 30, 40, and 50,000 feet. Well, obviously you don't see them right now. It's nighttime.
All right, Ian, you mentioned this just a few moments ago, how most of the metro, we're talking about the core of the metro, 694, 494 loop there, has passed this. We have a really good example of that. Let's go to Target Field, and believe it or not, the Twins game is resumed. And Keith, producer Keith, give me the stats.
Wow.
At 11:05, they're going to resume that game. Give me the stats. Bottom of the ninth, and Twins are down 4-3, but 11:05, they are going to resume that game because, as you said, that storm has passed through the metro now, enough so that they can resume that game at 11:05. It's a interesting juxtaposition of two things going on, not that far apart.
No, and you know, this was, I talked about the West Metro. Okay, good night, and then you put everyone to work, going to look for pictures.
Well.
Our Paul Bloom, I mean, the man loves the Boston Red Sox. And he came to me at around 2 o'clock this afternoon. He's like, you know, and he was all kind of like, he wanted to make sure the game was going to get in. I said, you're not going to get the late innings in. And I love this when people ask me for weather advice. They always say this. When I say that's not going to happen, they always say the same thing. Are you sure? I'm like, oh.
Well, technically they will get the late innings.
Well, now they will, but I'm pretty low. I mean, look, who hung around? A few people, and they are like
They're
serious
gonna play
baseball
some baseball.
fans. So if Paul Bloom tomorrow has bags under his eyes, I know he's one of like 30 people there waiting in the stands. I love that, Randy. Thanks. That's great anecdotal evidence is how clear it can be. I want to continue to take this scan, this 3D scan of the storm, and as you look to the south, we're still talking, see, now the core of the storm, 10, 20, 30,000 feet is at 30,000 feet. The overshooting tops are at 45,000 feet. So this is a massive line of clouds and storms as it moves off to the south and off to the southeast. Now, obviously, and I mentioned this, it's night. You're not going to see any of those clouds, but from downtown Minneapolis and downtown St. Paul, and truly the entire 494, 694 loop off to the north and everywhere to the west, you are free and clear. You are storm free. Congratulations, you are through. We are not finished with the rest of this storm system, though, as it continues to slide off to the southeast. So you've got 1, 2 massive severe thunderstorm warnings and a brand new warning here. This is for our friends kind of splitting the Mississippi River in parts of Buffalo, Trempealeau, and Wabasha counties until midnight. So we're 5 to 11. Randy,
we're down in bluff country now.
I'm not going to lie to you. It feels like I've been here for 24 hours.
Yeah, it's a little bit of Groundhog's Day. Yeah, so down that area you just mentioned right now, Ian,
right in the bluffs, yeah.
Yep, down along the Mississippi River there, those river towns down there. And the interesting part about that, and we've seen this before in systems like this that dumps these copious amounts of rain, they live in areas where they have these large ravines that roll down between the hills and the bluffs, and that can carry an awful lot of water. So the folks down there, be ready for heavy rain that can run down those ditch lines and those valleys in that bluff country.
It's, truly speaking, gully washers.
Exactly.
When you think about it. So, look, inordinately heavy rains, I am going to tell you, this storm has budged but an inch out of the metro and sat squarely on Anoka and now sort of kind of nudged its way to fully encompass all of Goodhue County. And then you end up with Buffalo, Trempealeau, and Wabasha counties here as this line of strong storms. And again, if you're just joining us, you rolled over, you're like, oh my God, I'm in Goodhue County, what's going on? And I've told you for years, if you roll over and you turn on Fox 9 and I'm not here, there's 2 things that are happening. I'm on a plane going to a beach somewhere, which I enjoy, or I'm on the air. Those are the only 2 things that happen truly in my life. So if you've just rolled over and you woke up, you're like, holy cow, there's Ian right there on the air. Oh, Randy's with him too, the guy with the good hair. I understand all of that. But along this line, the leading edge here, we are still talking about winds possible and considerable damage possible of 70 miles per hour. And Randy, the damage reports are still pouring in. So LeSueur County, we have reports of multiple trees down near the high school in Montgomery. Thunderstorm wind damage in Owatonna, 70 mile per hour wind measured at the airport. That's what I talked about. We were live on the air. Didn't need the airport to tell me. Saw it on Doppler technology. I said 70 miles per hour. Boom, nailed it. Do I win something for that?
No. Can I just take a couple minutes here and show people
totally.
We made the call for people who were safe to send us some stuff, send us video, send us pictures. Keith, let's can we pull up the Ham Lake video? Aaron sent us this. Aaron Lewicki sent us this. There's a large willow tree, I believe. I'm looking at it from a distance, so that's what it looks like to me. That's in Ham Lake. Again, Aaron Lewicki sent us that one in. Thanks. Look at the sky behind. It's already gone. It's passed through.
That's a big tree.
Yeah, that's those willows. They'll come down in a hurry. Take a look at this one. This is from Blaine. It shows the power of the winds as well. The rain blowing sideways as that storm rolled through parts of the metro. Again, this was about an hour ago. Yeah, boy, I mean, it just, that was Owatonna minutes ago. And then finally, let's take a look. This is Roseville in the North Metro there. Left side of the screen there, you can see a transformer blow, sparking from the rain. Again, that's one of the reasons why I have some 120,000 Xcel Energy customers without power tonight. Yeah, it's going to be a long night for those guys out there trying to repair and restore power. So be patient. The storm is still raging in many parts of the viewing area where they just can't get to it. Cynthia George sent us. Thank you, Cynthia. Appreciate it. All right, now you can all go to bed. No, I'm kidding. Keep them coming. Ian hasn't slowed down yet, so I got to keep video in here when I can. And I know that it's, I know that for some of you the storm is past, it's calm out there, and if you are still up and you have something significant to show us, we're happy to put it on the air. And certainly if we don't get to it tonight, we'll use it tomorrow as well. Ian, those folks, like you're talking about the metro proper, the loop, pretty much over, correct?
Yeah, we're done.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Twin Cities 494, 694 loop. Areas off to the north, areas off to the west. Look, here's the cities. There's the loop. You are done. If there is a problem, it may be some localized urban flooding on streets, storm sewers that are completely inundated. That would be the problem. Also, and Randy, you encountered, I'm going to put my phone down for a minute. Randy, you encountered this the other day, or not the other day. It seems like the other day. It was just last night. You were driving home, East Metro, you turn the corner, and there's trees across the road. Mm-hmm. That is going to be a problem for tonight. I said this last night, and I'll say it till I'm blue in the face. Your power's out. You notice outside there's a tree down, there's a power line. Hey, honey, I'm going to go check things out. The answer is absolutely not. The answer is to call whoever your power provider is. For most of the metro, I think it's XL Energy. And you mentioned, Randy, that XL Energy had some 110,000 people without power.
Now 120.
120,000 people without power in the Twin Cities. You know, there are going to be damage reports. Well, you just had them. But anecdotally, in people's neighborhoods, they're going to try and go down the street. They're going to be, well, I can't go down the street. I hope my backyard's going to be all right. My wife has a garden party tomorrow.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? Her husband's a meteorologist. Should have planned better.
I asked her to move it. I honestly did. Wasn't going to happen. And God bless her, because I love her with everything I have. But look, here it is once again. The severe thunderstorm warning. See it flashing here in gold and black. Buffalo, Trempealeau, and Wabasha counties until midnight. And then further to the south, Dodge, Mower, Olmsted, and Wabasha counties until midnight. And all along this line, and you'll notice, I mean, we're really starting to track far and away from the Twin Cities metro, and we're almost starting to track out of the Fox 9 viewing area as these storms, just by my estimation being on radar here, are really starting to pick up their forward speed, Randy, but not losing intensity.
What does Rochester have in mind there, Ian, as you look down there to the south of us?
So you start looking toward Rochester, and earlier tonight when we saw these particular signatures, these are what we call skits or storm signatures. That gold box is what we call a mesocyclone. And you'll notice it's represented here right next to these bright white cores. That's where we'll find the greatest amount of VIL. Ooh, I love that word, right? It means vertically integrated liquid. It doesn't always mean liquid. Sometimes the radar is looking at hailstones and rain mixed together, so it imparts this bright white saying there's an awful lot of moisture here. Can't differentiate between it's just hail or it's just rain or any combo of that. And that's why I always say there's where the core is. That's where we find the greatest updraft in that storm, Randy. That's where we find the strength. As long as the updraft stays in touch with the mid-levels of the atmosphere, this super cooled air I was talking about 10 minutes ago, as long as those cores stay intact, this storm stays intact as it continues to roll. Let's track this one little cell here to give you an idea where things are going. I don't think I'm tall enough anymore. Maybe I'm shrinking.
Well, you know, people get shorter as they get older.
How old do you think I am?
Not going there.
Oh, really? Wow. I'm 59, just in case anyone's wondering. But there is the track. 10, 20, and 30 minutes. The strongest portion of this storm, this core, is going to slide just barely off to the south and west of downtown Rochester. I've said it all night. I'll say it again. We've had a history of 70-mile-per-hour wind gusts right along the front of this line of precipitation with these strong, very robust, very rambunctious storms. 70-mile-per-hour wind gusts. If you're in and around Rochester, in and around Blooming Prairie, I want you to put your personal storm plan into effect. Separate yourself from the windows. I know, especially if you're in a high rise, there's nothing like going to the window and going, wow, look at these storms. But anything that's caught up in 70-mile-per-hour winds outside has the possibility to come toward those windows and create some terrible personal injury problems. Stay away from windows. Put as many walls between yourself and this storm before it arrives as you can. and please try and stay inside. You know, as Randy pointed out, and it was a great line. I should have stuck with it with you earlier, Randy. You said, look, when the storms are past, maybe step out on the porch and be like, oh, wow, look at that. That tree's down. Click. Oh, look, the barbecue that was here. Man, we were going to have a grill out tomorrow. That's in my neighbor's yard. Click. But don't venture any further than that, because you don't know what's out there. And Randy, you mentioned that perfectly. I want to go back to when everything started, and we were looking toward areas like Paynesville. And I got a note from my buddy Ryan, who said at his cabin and near his parents' house at Lake Coronis, the pontoon boat and the lift had both flipped. Then I talked to my friend Rick Frieden, who sent us that tremendous video as the storm was blowing through Paynesville. And it's the kind of storm that you're looking at going, man, I don't want to be outside. I don't want to be near a window. But Rick got that video to us. And that's how suddenly, and we were talking here at about probably 9:20. We're in the heart of the news hour. And I said, you guys, I need to blow things out. We need to stick with the storm coverage. We've already gotten through the first 20 minutes of the news, ostensibly the most important news of the day. And now here we are. So fully, that's almost 2 hours ago, Randy.
I'm still struck by the fact that this thing is holding together like that, Ian. And I'm looking at the cities of Winona. I'm looking at Eau Claire now to the north. Is it going to stay together another?
It absolutely is. I'll do exactly what I did earlier. I'll cut you a slice of cake. This is what we call a range height indicator. So as I slide this through the storm, you'll get the idea. It's not as high. Now again, 10, 20, 30, 40,000 feet. It's not quite as high. The core isn't as big and intact, but at this time of night, this storm doesn't need that. It will continue to move off to the south. So, a lot of times we tend to focus on the heat and humidity of the day. As we get through the mid to late hours of the afternoon, you see the storms billow and you're like, wow, they should billow. The daytime heating is creating enough instability to fuel these storms. And then we get towards sunset and the storms are like, I'm good, I'm done, and they're done. That's not the case right now for this particular storm, Randy, as we continue to watch it. I'll move you here off to the south. What I did here is I took all of the Doppler reflectivity away because, sometimes there can be just so much here that you're like, my gosh, I'm not sure how to make rhyme nor reason. You mentioned it sticking together. We're talking about from Eau Claire all the way down almost to Albert Lea. We're through Rochester right now. That is a massive storm. It is all linear, and when I mean linear, what we're talking about here is these lines are moving off to the southeast, forward speed at around 35 to 40 miles per hour, and all along the line that's approaching Rochester right now, all along this line, we'll look for some very strong winds. Most of the severe thunderstorm warnings have validated very well tonight. By validated, I mean when they mention in the warning there is a chance of 70 mile per hour winds. Well, we have seen that multiple times already tonight. So Rochester, you're pretty much in this storm right now. It is rocking for you. Strong winds possible at 70 miles per hour. Eau Claire, you're in this storm as well. Strong winds rocking 70 plus miles per hour with the severe thunderstorm warnings all in effect all along that line. You see them flashing in yellow and black. They're all in place until midnight.
Well, you mentioned earlier, and we're starting to get some more video in. I don't have it quite yet. It's not online, but when it comes online, I know you mentioned that St. Croix River Valley area, Ian, about an hour ago. We were talking about some of those areas of Taylor's Falls, St. Croix Falls, Baldwin, that area. We are getting reports of like Stillwater getting hit hard as well. Yeah. A lot of it has to do with the saturated ground and the strength of those winds pushing trees over. So that area, as we watched that storm roll in, did in fact get hit pretty hard. Yeah. And we're starting to hear those details from some of our viewers. I do have some video coming in, and when I have it, I'm going to show it to you.
Yeah, and Ray, thank you. I love, anecdotally, video, it sort of says everything instead of us saying, look out, this is coming. I hope using Doppler technology, and then we look back on it after the fact with videos and pictures so people can say, wow, the next time Ian shows me that and says, this is where it's really bad, you need to take cover. Well, now you'll see the video and you'll say, wow, it was really bad.
Let's take a look right now. I think I have it online as we're talking about it. This is the video coming into Fox 9. This again is the Stillwater area.
Wow.
Yeah, there it is. That's a big tree, and they're out there after the storm has passed. Keith Miller sent us this. Thank you, Keith. Appreciate it, sharing the video. He says the city got hit hard with a lot of trees and power lines now down. Again, if you have storm damage and you are in the safe zone and you want to share it, that tree looks like it fell on top of at least one vehicle
that's awful.
there.
That's awful.
We're seeing it with the lightning flashes and then with the folks' flashlights and cameras and cell phones. So yeah, it's a perfect example of what we talked about. The leaves on the trees creating this this sort of parachuting effect where the wind picks up the tree, hits that tree, and because of the saturated soil, those roots come free of the tree, and you can see that just exactly like that. It's not a snap-off effect, Ian, like you mentioned. In some storms, this is one of those where the trees get uprooted.
It's like they've just been pushed over.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, that's a massive tree. Think about the root complex on that. But there's nothing you can do with the tree that big, a sail, or as you put it, I like that, a parachute that big, catching the wind, and it doesn't pull it up so much as just kind of like a herd of elephants came and just pushed it over. Randy, Spring Valley in Pierce County, downed large tree blocking the road near Van Buren and Silver Fox in Spring Valley. Menominee in Dunn County, trees and power lines down across Menominee, as it's written here.
So folks, that's that area on 94. Be east of the St. Croix before you get to Eau Claire. It's about halfway between the St. Croix River and Eau Claire. And that's that area right there.
Here.
Just,
Yeah, right here.
There you go. So
Yeah.
in between the Minnesota-Wisconsin state line and Eau Claire is Menominee, and that's the Highway 25 that runs north-south out of Menominee. That's that area that's being referenced now.
So with all of these very strong storms, and again, the leading edge producing wind gusts at 60 to 70 miles per hour, we're also talking about an incredible amount of rain. And Randy, we've done this a couple of times tonight. I want to make sure that we keep doing it so that if you are in the greater Twin Cities metro from the St. Croix River Valley and basically all across the metro and areas west, you are storm free. You may still hear some thunder. You may still have a little light rain, a little mist, a little drizzle. You are clear of severe weather for the rest of the night. So if you're in the metro and you were hanging on, you're like, I'm just not sure. From me, I'm telling you, I'm sure you are good to go. You are good to slide into bed and have some pleasant dreams tonight. And as we wake up tomorrow, I guarantee you there are going to be trees down across this entire region. We've been reading you the damage reports so far. And as Randy said but moments ago, 120,000 people that we know of right now across the Twin Cities metro without power. That's incredible.
It is, Ian, and I know that the XO was prepared. They saw, as you did, and heard the reports. So I know that they amassed the trucks ready to roll. They won't roll until the areas are safe, and in some areas of the cities now are considered safe. So you'll start to see them out there working on that. This is going to be one of those storms where it's not like so much the transformers; it's trees on power lines. That's a bigger job for those guys because obviously everything has to be removed to get that power back up. So it might be a lengthy process in some of those areas most hit by the hard winds that took those trees down.
We've been talking about the winds. Now, remember when we were talking about these storms coming through Faribault and Owatonna, I was pointing out the bright red and pink signifying that line of very strong winds. And I just said, Rochester, this thing's on you. Well, notice the bright pink and the red. It's primarily just off to the west and southwest of Rochester, but those will be winds exactly where we were with Owatonna. Winds at 70 miles per hour, rolling and rocking through Rochester. And my friend Alex's daughter, Katya, she hates storms. She lives in Rochester. So Katya, I'm telling you right now, stay away from the windows. You're gonna be fine. I'm going to talk you through it. And just like last night, I'll be everybody's storm guide. But in and around Rochester, winds probably gusting to 70 miles per hour as the strong wind and rain comes rolling on through. I don't know if we have a camera in Rochester, and I know I always ask such a big feat for our friends on the other side of the wall here, but if we have a camera in Rochester, I'd love to.
Boom, there you
Boom.
go, Highway 52.
There you go, Leonard. Boom. Yeah, you can't really see
Not
much.
much to see there.
I don't know where.
Well,
This is one of those.
just
This is one of those
south-
proverbial times when you ask for something, you get it, and then you're like, oh.
Well, I can tell you that's just south of Rochester right now.
Okay, so if we're south, you can see the thunder and lightning, and obviously this thing is kind of bouncing around a little bit on its mount. So the strongest portion of the storm isn't here yet. Rochester, just off to the west of Rochester, is where I'm looking specifically for the possibility of 70-mile-per-hour winds. Man, our crew is so good, aren't they? I just said Rochester, and it just pops up. And if I don't say it enough to everyone who's been in the technical director chair tonight, Keith, who's been in the booth with us, Emily, Laura here as our floor director tonight, also one of our technical directors, the best in the business.
By the way, Kelsey is still hanging with us. She's in the newsroom collecting some of this stuff and feeding it.
Kelsey Carlson.
Yeah. I tried to send her home. Nope, she wouldn't go home. So kudos to Kelsey as well.
Because we don't run from these things. We want to be here, and I want to be your storm guide. Randy, you would be my navigator.
I'm your wingman. In a lot of things.
Yeah. So, am I Maverick? And yeah, I'm Maverick. You're Goose.
I don't know. I just know I'm your wingman.
Okay, so look, and we're probably a little punchy for being on the air for so long. There is the line of storms as it advances through the severe thunderstorm warning that's in place until midnight. I'm telling you, the backside of these storms is going to take that warning away for Dodge, Mower, Olmsted, and Wabasha counties, and then Buffalo, Trempealeau, and Wabasha counties, and both of those warnings flashing in black and gold. They are there until midnight. Considerable damage possible with winds to 70 miles per hour, and as I say that, the severe thunderstorm warning has been allowed to expire for Freeborn, Steele, and Waseca counties. Now getting a delayed report from Eden Prairie, and that's a large tree down in Eden Prairie. They have photos of that. Down power lines near Highway 3 in Rosemount in Dakota County, and trees and power lines down in Ellsworth in Pierce County. Trees and power lines down in Prescott in Pierce County. These are all warnings. These are all damage reports that, there is a bit of a lag time for the damage reports to come through, and understandably so. The storm comes, it rocks for like 40, 45 minutes, and then it passes, and everyone kind of goes, and then we start to figure out where the damage is. So the damage reports are flowing in right now, almost as the rain here is flowing off to the south and the southeast. It's a terrible cliche, and I know that as soon as it came out of my mouth. But I want to stretch back here. So damage reports in Eden Prairie, damage reports in Prescott, damage reports all the way down into Goodhue County, damage reports in Faribault and Owatonna. It's the reason we're on the air, Randy. It's the only reason we're on the air, because these storms were so very powerful as they came through the metro.
I have a damage report as well, Ian Leonard, but it wasn't the Twins that were damaged. It was the Boston Red Sox. The Twins actually won that game. Keith, give me a Brooks Lee walk-off. Awesome. That wasn't expected, but
hold on.
Good enough.
Baseball talk. Really good camera in Rochester. Hannah just got it right here. And here's the storm as it's entering Rochester, and this is similar to what we saw in Owatonna. So you see, it's wind whipped, and you see the wind on the lens. You'll see, if you look down at the road when the headlights come by, look at the wind blowing across the pavement. I mentioned wind possibilities at around 70 miles per hour. We're there, looking at Doppler velocity on radar, looking at what's happening here on this camera. So if you're in Rochester, man, it is time to hunker down, batten down the hatches, and ride this storm out. Winds at 70 miles per hour. You see the blinding heavy rain and the lightning flashes every other second. It may feel at times like this whole thing's just like collapsing down upon you. Trust me, you're fine. It's a severe thunderstorm warning, but there are wind possibilities up to 70 miles per hour.
Which is significant, as we're finding out, at least last report, and maybe we'll have somebody check this to see if it's gone up, at 120,000 XL customers without power. That is undoubtedly going to go up based on the number of trees and power lines that have been reported down. Ian, what do you have?
These are the damage reports. Yeah. I mean, it's just one big long line, and they just keep popping in. Another one from Belle Plaine in Scott County. Large trees snapped in Belle Plaine. It just keeps talking primarily, Randy, about large trees down on power lines.
We haven't heard much about hail.
No, and this hasn't been a hailer. Inevitably when you deal with straight line winds like this, it really becomes a focus of straight line winds. So it doesn't support singular strong updrafts all in one storm, a supercell thunderstorm. It doesn't support that. It supports multiple smaller cores along this line. So because of that, you may end up with some pea-sized hail somewhere along this line, but you don't end up with what we had last night. One big supercellular thunderstorm went through Plymouth and Maple Grove, and parts of Plymouth and Maple Grove had golf ball size hail. Big, strong, singular thunderstorm with a massive updraft. These are smaller updrafts all along this line, and this is all about straight line winds to 70 miles per hour.
136,000 people without power as of right now.
Really? 136,000 people without power in the greater Twin Cities metro. The metro is now storm free. Even the rain is pulling away. So the strongest storms are still flashing here on radar. And I will tell you this. I'm going to give everybody fair warning. We've got 11 minutes until 11:30, Randy. If you notice here, these storms from Buffalo, Trempealeau, and Wabasha County now added Jackson, La Crosse, Trempealeau, and Winona. All of these storms are really starting to slide all the way down the Mississippi River Valley. If I move the map back over to the metro, you come down 35W and you start to look areas off to the north, end of the west, and the south end of the southwest of the metro. That is the last of the severe thunderstorms to the Fox 9 viewing area right now as you look here. From Rochester all the way back to 35. That's Buffalo, Trempealeau, and Wabasha, and then Jackson, La Crosse, Trempealeau, and Winona. Those are the last of the warnings, and as we head through about 11:30 tonight, we're going to sound the all clear for a vast portion of the Fox 9 viewing area. Now, what that doesn't mean is that it's all clear and you boom, when you open it, you need some oil on the door, so and you open the door and you head outside. You need some oil for the hinges there. And you're looking around like we saw those people on the video you showed, Randy. It is really important that we take due care and diligence to not start wandering the neighborhoods, especially if your neighborhood has downed trees and power lines, or maybe the power's out in your neighborhood. And I'll be the first to tell you, when you're in your house and it's dark and you go over the light switch and nothing works and the fridge isn't working, it's an unsettling feeling. But that unsettling feeling, I don't want that to chase you outside so you can become a midnight explorer. You know what I mean?
I do know what you mean. Ian, I want to ask something about the sort of the after effects of those areas. We talked about the amount of rain that this thing is carrying with it. And again, as we mentioned several times, it doesn't seem to break up as it moves to that southeast area. Again, localized flooding. We talk about the trees, we talk about power outage, but localized flooding in some of these areas will definitely be a factor.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we'll see rainfall rates, and I haven't had a chance to look, but I think we'll see some rainfall totals well above an inch, if not edging toward 2 inches. And, you know, evidentiary when you start to look at what we had yesterday, what we had last week, and anecdotally, I looked at I'm such a dork. I'm trying to help my wife get ready for the garden party tomorrow, so I'm looking in the flower pots. There were some flower pots that were still full of water. You know, from last night's storm. So that's almost representative of what's happening with the ground. Those big trees, they're trying to hold on to that saturated soil. My front lawn today was like walking on a sponge. Really important here, Randy, that as we look down toward the south here, areas in and around Rochester with that bright pink, you're still in and of it, but these are more winds at 60 plus miles per hour instead of winds at 70 miles per hour, and these warnings are still here. The linear storms are still here, stretching from now just south of Eau Claire all the way down through just south of Goodhue County, pushing into Rochester and Mower County, and then all the way down toward 218. They are still moving. I'll grant you this. They are moving rather slowly, but they continue to track off to the southeast. And you see those new warnings beginning to flash. And then I slide you back toward the Twin Cities Metro, and you're like, wow, we made it through that. We did. We absolutely did. And on a night like tonight, when you let me be your storm guide, I guarantee you we're always going to make it through together. It may not be pretty as we wake up in the morning and you hear the whir of chainsaws somewhere in the neighborhood. But you know, and Randy, it can become so cliche in our world. But you know, like you know, house and a car and all that sort of stuff. I know Randy knows this. I've lost cars during storms while I'm in the studio tracking those storms. It's just stuff that can be replaced. And then what's so important is that we're here to help you stay ahead of the storm, to help you stay skyware with you, your pets, your family, your grandparents, your aunts and uncles, your children. It's all of those things together that being a storm guide just lets me tell you exactly what's happening, where it's happening, when it's happening, and when it's safe. So for the greater Twin Cities Metro, all the way here to the St. Croix River Valley, down the Mississippi, out of Dakota County, out of Goodhue County, everywhere to the west and northwest of those locations, including the Twin Cities, you're storm free and you're free to go. It's almost like I'm a teacher and the bell just rang and everyone wants to get out of school.
So if we want to get in the weeds a little bit, Ian, move that map so we can see Rochester. And we're talking about an area down there. And I'm going to get in the weeds a little bit because I know this area down there south of Rochester. It's all farmland. So folks, if you're listening, sort of in that Leroy area, it's a very small community down there, but there are a lot of those small little towns down there. You are now, according to where the brightest area of that radar is showing up, you are now going to be in the crux of the heaviest rain and the strongest winds in that farm country south of Rochester.
Yeah, so see right here just to the south as we cross I-90, see where we get those blasts of the red and the pink? That's talking about the winds that are here working off to the southeast. Winds at 60 plus miles per hour. Forward speed of the storm slowing to about 30 miles per hour, and that's different than the actual wind. So 30 miles per hour, if the storm was a car, that's how fast it's moving. 60 plus miles per hour are the winds involved in that storm that you're realizing here in Rochester with the blinding rain, the thunder, the lightning. I mean, this is Randy, this is all, that's your old stomping ground. I mean, part of it.
Yeah, no, it is. And it's town ball area too, Ian. We've been down there stomping around in all those little farm communities down there, and they do watch and listen. And this type of coverage is really important to them because they're the ones that have the farms, that have all the crops in the ground right now. And as I said earlier, when you have 70-mile-an-hour winds, and our corn now in some of those farm areas down there is well above your head, tasseling out, it'll lay that stuff down. So we certainly want to think about our farmers in a situation like this. Yeah, take that, Keith. Keith's talking to me, producer Keith. This is Highway 14. We talked about that earlier, Ian. That's just east of Rochester, a little south there. You can see what that wind and rain effect is there. That is that east-west highway down there in the southern part of our viewing area near the between Owatonna and Rochester. That is an area that is getting pounded as well as this storm moves its way very slowly, and its path of slow forward movement means that it's going to drop a lot of rain in those areas. As Ian said earlier, the fast-moving ones come in like a rocket and don't drop as much rain, but this one, it stayed together and it's moving slow, and that's what you get there when it does. There's a lot of rain coming through in sheets. We used to call it sheets of rain, Ian.
Yeah, my mom used to say that too. She would talk about, and you just see it kind of washing away here right now. So yeah, we're still talking about very strong winds. Rochester proper, it is now less than 60-mile-per-hour winds. That doesn't mean the storm was as voracious as it was when it was eating up all the storm energy in and around the metro, and we had those wind gusts of 70 miles per hour. Camera's still shaking. Look at the wind-whipped rain right here. I'll tell you, on the streets of Rochester right now is not a place I'd want to be, or Randy. I mean, imagine what that would do to your hair.
Actually, nothing.
Okay, well,
what happened?
That's pure black. Let's go. Okay, so here's storm vision. I mentioned I gave 11:30 sort of as a time here, Randy, and if you're comfortable with that, I'm comfortable stepping away from our coverage at 11:30 as these strong storms continue to march their way off to the southeast, straddling the Mississippi River Valley, working down toward La Crosse, about to exit areas like Rochester here in the next 15 minutes. This is what is left of those very strong, widespread storms that came into the metro. Quick recap here. When you think about how this all happened, at about 9:15, Randy and I and Kelsey were talking during commercial break. I'd already been on the air for on and off a couple of hours through the evening, including the Fox 9 News at 5, 6, and 7. But then when we got into the live news at 9 p.m., I said, I think we got to do more storm coverage. And to Randy and Kelsey's credit, and our producers, Emily and Keith and everybody else, they all said, whatever you think is best. And Randy, just to take you back, we were talking about that line of storms that was here, Southwest Metro, and that very strong line of storms that started to collapse in here out of the north and the northwest. And I mentioned the words earlier, it was like a pincer zone right here. And as it came together, it flourished. The strongest storms out of the north really began to draw in those storms out of the south, and the energy started to roll, and then it pushed off to the south. That was about 9:15, and we've been on the air just tracking storms ever since as we head toward 11:30.
So I'm going to let you sign this thing off, but I do have one more video I want to show folks in the Metro, Woodbury, that Eastern Metro there. Trent Sanders sending us a video of a huge tree that snapped off in his yard there. It was a maple tree. He said it was enormous. And he said, unlike some other ones, this one did snap off several feet above the base. You can see it there better now as he walks toward that tree. Again, this is a really good example of going out after the storm when things are safe. Again, watch out for those power lines. That's always a concern, not during the storm. Again, thanks again to Trent Sanders. And folks, for those of you following us online, Fox Local, I know that you do stream us, so some of those outlying areas further out from the metro that are still following our storm coverage. Ian, one last word for the folks that may be following us that way.
Yeah, okay. So we're all clear from the St. Croix, even working down into Goodhue County, areas to the metro and off to the west, to the northwest and the southwest. We're all clear of severe weather. But Randy, as you just mentioned, folks do watch us in outstate Minnesota. We are the station of record, ostensibly, and especially when it comes to storm coverage. That storm coverage will now begin to wane because these storms are slowly tracking away. And you think about where we have television stations in the upper Midwest, and they dot the skyscape all the way down into eastern Iowa. I used to be on the air at KWWL in Waterloo and Cedar Falls and Cedar Rapids back in the early 2000s. There are stations that will be able to pick up this coverage. You'll also be able to log on to our website or onto our weather app, the Fox 9 weather app, and you'll be able to track these storms. But at this point, as they continue and they roll very slowly with some very heavy rain, Eau Claire, you're in the rain, but you're out of the serious storms. Rochester, you're in the rain, but you're out of the most serious portion of the storm. And because of that, I think we're allowing our storm coverage to begin to roll up as we move away from the greater Twin Cities metro and the heart of the Fox 9 viewing area. And I want to include, Randy, our folks here in west central Wisconsin. We never walk off. And I get emails and I get texts and I end up with Twitter messages saying, you're about the only station that sticks with us as we get into west central Wisconsin. To which I would say, well, parts of west central Wisconsin are closer to the Twin Cities than parts of southern and northern Minnesota. So why wouldn't we? I mean, these are all our people. And we take the challenge and we'll put that challenge squarely on our backs and we'll march it forward, right?
All right. Well, let's close her down if you're comfortable with that.
I am. So again, as you look off to the south, Rochester, it is rain. You're out of the strongest portion of the storm. Eau Claire, it is rain. You're out of the strongest portion of the storm. Now it is advancing to areas like La Crosse and down here into parts of northeast Iowa along and south of I-90. So, I will tell you, it is a great responsibility to be a storm guide for you. I don't take it lightly, but more than anything, I know that people who need the information, we got the information to them, Randy. Randy, you're my wingman, and I love you for it. But for now, from the Fox 9 Weather Center, on behalf of Randy and Kelsey and our incredible behind-the-scenes crew, I will bid you good night and always invite you to stay sky aware. I'm going to not leave the Weather Center for a bit. I'll continue to track these storms, and then I'll head home for some much-needed sleep. So on behalf of everybody, thanks for allowing us to be your storm guide, and good night.